Welcome back to A Happy Change. My name is Alex, and today I'm going to talk to you about being an introvert. More specifically, I'm going to talk to you about energy levels and how introverts output energy but also need to recharge. And it's taken me years, like decades, to figure some of this stuff out, and it's dead straightforward. Firstly, let's talk a little bit about the difference between being an introvert and confidence. So if you're introverted like me, it doesn't necessarily mean that you lack confidence. It doesn't mean that you necessarily are someone who can't perform when the time comes. Personally, I've had a career that's required me to stand in front of large groups of people and talk. However, that's taken a lot of energy, and that's been something that I've had to work on, something that's been very difficult, but it hasn't necessarily stopped me from having that career. So when we imagine introverted people, even if we are introverted ourselves, we tend to think of, someone who's too shy to speak in social occasions, someone who is never going to volunteer to have their voice heard, perhaps in a group meeting. Those things aren't necessarily true. In fact, some high-level research, a 30-second Google search, tells me that the following people, who you might not have assumed are introverts, are actually introverts. Meryl Streep, Steven Spielberg, Michael Jordan, even someone that we would class as like the queen of brave actions, Rosa Parks. All of these people class themselves or were viewed as introverts. So being an introvert doesn't stop us from performing these brave, extravagant, outgoing actions. But with a limited amount of energy, it's inevitable that performing these outgoing tasks are going to consume more energy from people like me and you as an introvert than they would our extroverted friends. What's important is how we recharge that energy, and we'll get into that. So one of the things that I've kind of struggled to come to terms with is this idea that I need time just to myself. If I reflect on the things that I do for me, like the things that I find really recharge my batteries, they're things like a bath, perhaps with the radio on, or reading a book, or playing computer games, or just watching Netflix on my own. If I've had a really tough week in life, then one of the things that I'd look forward to is alone time. What I've realized is this clashes with the way lots of people live their life. People who are less introverted, when they're having tough weeks, tend to want to come together, and people who are introverted like me tend to want time alone, and that can cause challenges, rifts in relationships, but it can also create guilt in our own minds because we think, well, why do I want to be on my own? Why am I spending this time alone? But what we need to realize is that time alone allows us to recharge, so then we can expend energy again in social situations or situations that require us to perform, speaking up in a meeting, presenting something on stage, teaching a lesson, even just maybe an in-depth conversation with someone or chatting to someone in the street, those things that maybe don't come to us as naturally as they would for extroverts. And because they require more energy, it's really important in the week that we find that time just to be on our own, to self-reflect, to play a game, to watch a film, to read a book, to have a bath, to listen to the radio. So I think this was like a really important learning for me, perhaps only in the last 12 months, where I've realized that those points where I feel guilt about needing time on my own, actually what that is my brain just saying, listen man, you're empty. You need some time on your own to recharge. There's loads of ways you can find out what personality type you are. I'll try and put some links in the description for you. So here's a few little takeaways, maybe some homework for you. Firstly, recognize that introversion, being an introvert, isn't a lack of confidence. It just might require more energy to do those things that you deem confident, which is the second point. Acknowledge that those times that you are performing or responding in a social manner, they're going to require more energy than perhaps your extroverted friends. So you can still do them. They might just be more difficult and more tiring for you. You go to a party, you might leave at the end of the day exhausted, whereas your extroverted friend or partner, that's what's charged them up. So maybe they'll leave really buoyant and excited. You might have had a fabulous time, but it's going to cause some level of exhaustion for you. And the homework, the most important thing, number 3, is make time for yourself to be alone, doing whatever you want. And that's how we'll stay happy little introverts. My name is Alex. This is A Happy Change. I will see you next time. Peace.